Hello everyone and welcome to a new vlog. As you can tell by the title, this reading vlog is a little bit different because I am dedicating this vlog to reading Fairyloot books. I have been a subscriber to Fairyloot for, I want to say, over 3 years now. I absolutely love them as a company. I love the editions that they bring out, and I do tend to enjoy the books that they choose to feature in their monthly boxes. Now, I did recently stop my YA subscription with Fairyloot, mainly because I need to save a little bit of money where I can, but also because I am finding myself falling out of love with YA a little bit at the minute, or YA fantasy at least. So I do just have the adult Fairyloot subscription right now, but me being me, I haven't actually read a lot of the books that we've received in those boxes. So I do have 1 week now until I go back to work. I go back on the 1st of September. I've decided to dedicate this week to reading hopefully 3 Fairyloot books. The first 2 I have are actually on my set TBR for the month, so I really would like to read them. I have been trying to put 1 subscription box book on my set TBR per month just to try and get through some of them because I have so many, and this month it's actually worked out that I have 2. So the first book that I have is The Curse of Saints by Kat Dramis. This is a beautiful book and we did recently get this, I want to say about 2-3 months ago. I did start reading this one. Let's check how far through I got. I got up to page 43, so I'm not doing too badly. Don't have many thoughts on this just yet. I definitely feel like this is going to be an easy book to just get into and get immersed into, which is definitely what I'm wanting right now. So hopefully this does turn out to be a good one. I am just going to read you the synopsis for this because I don't really know what this book is actually about, and in the first few pages that I've read I couldn't tell you too much about it either, except that we have a group of characters who are working for the Queen and are trying to bring about the Queen's justice. So it says here, as spy master to the Queen, Aya's blood oath ensures she protects those she fights alongside, including Will, the Queen's enforcer, and Aya's bitter rival. When rumours of dark magic rise in a nearby kingdom, both are sent to investigate. But when Aya's power acts beyond her gods-given affinity, she risks being turned into a weapon in a war she doesn't know how to win. And when her relationship with Will unexpectedly shifts, neither knows the danger that will follow. Sounds like a very fun, intriguing YA book. I love the darkness behind it as well. I'm really hoping that it is quite dark because I'm definitely in the mood for that right now. Love the setting. It is very atmospheric just from the first few pages that I've read, so hopefully I can get a move on with this and read a little bit more of it today. Secondly, we have Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. Now, this wasn't in a monthly box from Fairyloot, but the first book, which is Daughter of the Moon Goddess, it's up here somewhere I think. That one was, and this is the sequel. It's another Fairyloot edition, don't worry. I did pre-order it because how could I not? Look at those sprayed edges, guys, they are beautiful. But yeah, I did read Daughter of the Moon Goddess when it first came out. I want to say 1.5 years ago now, maybe even longer. I do have a dedicated reading vlog actually where I read that, so I will leave it linked up above and down below. But ever since this arrived, I put it on my shelves and I've kind of forgotten about it, and I'm notoriously bad at not finishing out series. Now, this is only a duology, so once I finish this I will know the conclusion to the story. I don't have to commit to reading a lot more books in the series, so that is why I've decided to try and read this one now. I have actually started listening to the audiobook for this. It is on Scribd and I've read 7 chapters I want to say, which I don't actually think is a lot because I definitely haven't listened to that much. Apparently it is a lot. Chapter 7 is page 77. Have I actually listened to that much already? That is crazy if I have, because I've just been putting it on here and there. We'll see. I'll try and actually get a proper page count for you in a minute, but if I do go on Scribd, I can tell you guys how much I have left of it. Okay, it says chapter 7 here, but it did just play and it said I'm on chapter 5. I hate it when they do that because I get confused. So I'm on page 49. That makes a bit more sense. Oh my gosh, what a mess. But I have 6 hours and 12 minutes left of the audiobook. I am listening at 2 times the speed. I do feel comfortable doing so. I have been listening to it on that speed as I mentioned, and I do feel like I'm retaining the information. It has been a little bit hard to dive into this book, not gonna lie, just because I have left it so long between reading the first book. I don't quite remember as much as I would like to from that first book. However, unfortunately, I don't have have the time to dedicate to rereading the first book. So I've watched a few reviews, I have gone back to my video as well, and I think I'll be okay moving forward. I do know most of the background information and hopefully that won't confuse me too much. But the little snippet here says, the stunning sequel to the Sunday Times bestselling Daughter of the Moon Goddess delves deeper into the beloved Chinese mythology, concluding the epic story of Xingyin, the daughter of Chang'e and the mortal archer Hui, as she battles a new threat to the realm in this powerful tale of love, sacrifice and hope. I feel like this is going to be a hard one to talk about because it is the second book in a duology, so sorry if my thoughts on this don't come across too well, but I am really hoping that I will enjoy this one. I think I gave the first book 3 stars, so I'm not too sure about this one. I think that's why I decided to go the audiobook route, because hopefully it will give me a better experience that way. The first book was just so beautifully written and magical that I feel like I would have got more out of it if I had listened to the audiobook. So hopefully I do feel a little bit better diving into this one. And then the third book is one that I would like to read if I can. This one isn't set on my TBR, but it's one that I have been debating and hauling, not because I don't like the edition, it's just I'm not sure whether I will actually enjoy it or not. That one is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, and I have read from Heather Fawcett before and I didn't like what I read, unfortunately. I unhauled the book, I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I didn't have a good time with it. So very anxious diving into this one, but I have heard good things. This is a shorter book as well. I say that, it's still over 300 pages. Yeah, it's about 315 pages, so still pretty long, but from what I've heard I feel like this will be a quick read. And in this one, from what I can gather, we follow Emily Wilde, who is a genius scholar who is writing the world's first encyclopedia of fairies. And again, I'll read you a snippet. It says, as Emily gets closer to uncovering the secrets of the hidden ones, the most elusive of all fairies, she also finds herself on the trail of another mystery. Who is Wendell Bumblebee, and what does he really want? To find the answer, she'll have to unlock the greatest mystery of all, her own heart. So Wendell Bumblebee is apparently another rival, so we'll see. You can tell I don't really know too much about this. I haven't really looked into it that much. It isn't necessarily one that I would have prioritized had it not been for the fact that I'm just not too sure whether I want to keep it or not. The edition is beautiful. I'm absolutely obsessed with the cover, but I am trying to clear out some books at the minute that I know I'm not going to read just because I need the space, and so this is why I've decided to pick up this one. So these are all of the books that I would like to get to in this last week before I start work again. Hopefully I can. It would be fantastic if I could. I have actually been reading quite a lot these last few weeks, again because I've actually had the time to dedicate to reading. With this being the last week though, I'm not too sure how much time I'll actually have. I definitely need to go into school and sort out some things there. Maybe I'll have to even be there for 2 days, we'll see. It's a bit of a mess there because I am in a very small school in the middle of the countryside and I've only recently had a job there, so there is a lot of stuff that I need to clear out and sort, and I kind of want to make the room my own, but then I can't really do too much because unfortunately my school is closing down next year. The government have decided that it's too small, and so yeah, at the end of the next school year in 2024 my school will be closing, which is so sad, and I'm trying not to think about it because that, 1, means that I'm out of a job, 2, it means that the kids all have to move, 3, it means that we have to clear out the whole school by ourselves because do you think they're gonna give us help? No chance. And yeah, it's all around a really tough time for everyone there at the minute, so I don't really want to do too much and put a lot of effort in because I know I'm gonna have to get rid of everything at the end of next year, but then again I don't want the kids to be there and the classroom be really bare and have nothing for them, so I'm trying to sort things out, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. So hopefully, as I mentioned, I can manage to read these. I definitely want to prioritize them. I've been doing so well, as I've mentioned. My daily page count has been about 200 to 300 pages, so I could technically read this one in a day, but I am going to prioritize this one physically. The audiobook may be a little bit trickier because I am not doing a lot of things at the minute that require me to listen to audiobooks. I will definitely be listening to it when I cook and things like that and clean, possibly when I take Huey for a walk, but because Tom and I are both off, we have both been taking her for walks recently, and of course I'm not going to ignore him and just wear headphones on the whole walk, so we shall see. But yeah, top priority is this one. I'm gonna try and get to page 150, maybe even 200 of this today, but it is currently 3:45 in the afternoon. I have had a content-filled day today. I have filmed 3 videos. I need to now sort some stuff out for Instagram. I was gonna do stuff for TikTok, but honestly, I'm having a bit of a nightmare with TikTok right now, so maybe not. But yeah, I'm very tired. I need to take a lot of stuff to the post office actually, because as I mentioned, I am trying to clear out some books, and I have listed a few of them on Vinted, not all of them yet. I'm trying to put them in batches, and yeah, a few of them have gone. I think I've got 5 things that I need to take to the post office today, and I do need to go to 3 different places because 2 of them are for Every, which I can post from my local post office. 2 of them are for in-post, so I need to drive about 10 minutes away to go there. And then another one is for Yodel, which I might take off my shipping preferences because that is even further away, and yeah, the newsagent is just kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I might have to take that one off, but for now I will go and take it over there. So I have had a busy day, still planning on having a busy day, but hopefully I can chill out tonight, read the book, and let you guys know some of my thoughts once I've managed to do that. Right guys, I do have some reading updates for you, but before we go into those, I have a parcel to unbox. Now, as you can see, this is from Waterstones. I do know what this is, but I won't spoil the surprise just yet, don't worry. But it arrived, I want to say a few days ago actually, and I forgot to unbox it, and I thought that this would be the perfect time. So let's just see what I've got. I am notoriously bad at opening these Waterstones parcels, so let's see if I can do it in one. Yes, I can. And then, yeah, you will definitely have a sneak peek at that. You will know what it is. I can't remember if this is a special edition, so we will see. But this one is He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan, which is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun, I believe it is. This is a Waterstones exclusive edition, and it does have some stenciled edges on there, which I just love. I love how the gold carries over as well. I didn't expect that, but that is definitely a nice touch. I actually only have the standard edition of the first book, which is very sad. I didn't manage to get my hands on the Illumicrate book, was it? I can't quite remember. Someone did a special edition of it, and yeah, unfortunately I missed out, but I saw that this was coming out and I managed to pre-order this beautiful edition. Still haven't started this series yet though, so I can't tell you too much about it, but without spoiling myself, I want to check if it's signed. Yes, it is. So it is signed by the author as well, which is very exciting. And I am just going to grab the first book because I need to know what it's about. I have it. It was right at the top of my shelves. But this is the first book. There is a definite colour contrast between them, but I kind of love it. I feel like it does weirdly go together. But as you can tell, unfortunately, this is just a plain standard edition, which is quite sad comparing it to this beautiful one. But we move, it's fine, I'm not bitter about it at all. I have heard amazing things about this book in particular though, which is why I did go ahead and pre-order the second book. I'm trying to stop doing that, but the books in the UK tend to go out of print quite quickly, especially hardcovers, so I didn't want to miss out on a hardcover to match, and then the fact that it was an exclusive edition just sold me even more. So I did go ahead and buy it, as you've seen. In this one it just says, in a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, a seer shows 2 children their fates. For the boy, greatness, for the girl, nothingness. In 1345, China lies under harsh Mongol rule. For the starving peasants of the Central Plains, greatness is only found in stories. The Zhu family is mystified as to how Zhu Chongba, their 8th-born son, will achieve his lofty future. But for a daughter, no matter how clever or capable, an early death would be no surprise. Yet when a bandit attack orphans the 2 children, it's Zhu Chongba who dies. Desperate to survive, his sister steals his identity to enter a monastery. There, disguised as a male novice, Zhu learns she can be ruthless to avoid her fate. But when her sanctuary is destroyed, Zhu is cast back into the war-torn world. To change her ending, there's only one thing she can do: claim her brother's great destiny as her own. Why haven't I picked this up sooner, guys? I'm desperate to read this now. I feel like this is going to be exactly the type of book that I would love. Definitely gives me Mulan vibes, and Mulan is one of my favourite Disney films, so again, very excited to get into this one. And now I have the sequel to match, so maybe not this year, but in the new year definitely I will read the first book. But let me know if you would like me to film a reading vlog where I read both of these books. Could be spoiler free or spoiler filled, completely up to you, but I just have a feeling that I'm gonna love this, and the fact that I do have the second book now is a good opportunity to dive into this. Not sure if it's a series or a duology. I feel like it's going to be a series. It doesn't say on here, but yeah, I would love to start this at least and hopefully read the first two books. So very happy to have had this one now, but that has definitely shown me that I need to try and prioritize more of the books that I do own, especially the first books in series. So yeah, pretty bad of me. But anyway, moving forward, I do have some reading updates, as I mentioned, and they are actually fairly positive, which I wasn't sure if they were going to be starting off these books. But I'm going to first talk about The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramis. I've taken the dust jacket off. It is here somewhere. Oh, it's on the table behind the ring light and stuff, so I'm not going to bother. But this is the naked cover, which is beautiful but very distracting. I apologise. The first 50 pages of this was really slow for me, and I was debating whether I was actually going to carry on with it. But if you saw in the B-roll, I did host some reading sprints the other day just because I needed to sit down and focus my attention on this book and Heart of the Sun Warrior, which I will talk about in a minute. I sat down, guys, I think I read over 150 pages in those sprints, and I am now so invested. It's gotten to the point where I've actually been looking for sprints so that I can sit down and dedicate a chunk of time to this. So I did join Katie and Tori's sprints last night and the night before for Romantasy-a-thon, which is a fantasy romance readathon that they host. I'm not actively participating in that readathon, but I have followed Katie for a while. Tori is a new booktuber that I've discovered, but I love her content, so I will leave them linked down below. But yeah, they have been sprinting all weekend, which has been a godsend for me, and I have managed to read quite a bit of this. So I am now up to page 343, guys. So I've read this big chunk. I only have this little chunk left, and I definitely could have finished it before updating you. So that is why I'm here now to share my thoughts on this with you, because I have just gotten sucked in. As I mentioned, for some reason I couldn't get into this book at the beginning. However, it's so action-packed. Literally from the first page you are thrown into this world, and it opens up with an attack. So there's no kind of nice slow introduction to the characters. You are literally thrown in and you discover everything about them in this chaotic setting, which I actually do really enjoy. I feel like I prefer that sometimes because you can see their personality and their traits through their actions rather than being told about it, and the dialogue between characters as well has really set it all up. And even though it was a slower book for me to get into for some reason, I'm so glad now that I'm flying through it. There was just something that clicked for me around the 100-page mark, and I'm loving this, guys. It's definitely given me Throne of Glass vibes, but there's a lot more going on in this book than there is in the first book of Throne of Glass. So essentially we follow a group of people who are more or less slaves to the Queen. They've sworn a blood oath, and of course they have to protect the Queen at all costs, follow her every orders, and also protect the other bloodsworn. Now Aya, who is our main character, does this willingly. She loves the Queen and she would do anything for her. However, she does despise one thing that she has to do, and that is working with Will, who is the Queen's enforcer. They've never gotten along. They have been enemies for as long as she can remember, and working together you can definitely see the tension between them. But one day when Aya's powers act beyond her God's-given affinity, she realizes that she is no longer just a chess piece for the Queen, but rather she is a very important person that is going to have a big role in the war that is to come between the kingdoms. I was going to mention a trope in here, but I don't want to spoil anything. However, there is a love triangle, which normally I'm not too keen on, but honestly, guys, every single character in this love triangle is just amazing. That is definitely one of the things that gives me Throne of Glass vibes. Of course, we have magic in here, we have spies / assassins, we have magical creatures. So in Throne of Glass you have the wyverns, in here you have wolves, which are bonded to some of our characters. We have a murder mystery plot in here as well, which I'm definitely interested in. We have court intrigue and the drama that comes along with that, and yeah, you could definitely draw up so many parallels. However, this is very different different. So whilst they're similar and you could definitely get those vibes, it is one that can stand by itself and give you those feelings that you had whilst reading something like Throne of Glass. I actually can't believe how sucked in I am to this book, guys. I will be finishing it today because I think I have about 150 pages, maybe just a little bit over. I am going to see if anyone's sprinting on YouTube just because I don't fancy hosting some today. But the characters are definitely what is drawing me to this book, I think, which is weird because normally I'm more of a plot-driven person, and whilst the plot in here is so interesting, the characters, the tension between them, the different relationships that we have, as well as friendships, not only the kind of sexual relationships in here, but the platonic relationships are just as amazing. Kate Dramas has a really good knack at portraying the characters' emotions and making you feel so deeply for them. So all in all, I'm having a really good time with this one. I feel like I'm just rambling on, but it's so hard not to spoil it, and yeah, I just don't know what else I can say, but loving the characters, loving the world, loving the mystery element to it, and I'm not quite sure how this is all going to wrap up, so I'm very excited to see what goes on and the probable fallout of it, because I feel like this is going to end on some sort of weird cliffhanger. I actually don't know if this is part of a series. I will have to let you guys know later on because I will look into it. Happy that I'm loving this one so much. I'm so glad that I decided to sit down and dedicate time to it because I just wasn't feeling it at the start, and now I feel like it's a new favourite. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with this one. Moving on though, because I could talk about that book all day, I have actually made a decent amount of progress in this book as well. Now this is another one where going into it I wasn't really expecting too much, and I wasn't really wanting to listen to the audiobook. I'm not sure if I was just scared that I wouldn't remember as much about this world, having read the first book about 2 years ago, I want to say now, which is definitely the case. I'm definitely not remembering as much as I should. I have remembered most of the main plot points, which I feel like is fine. I am definitely in the story now and following along with the plot and what's actually happening, but I hadn't read any more of this until yesterday when Chloe from Chloe Reads Books was hosting reading sprints, and I decided to join them and just focus solely on this book because I had given my full attention to The Curse of Saints, and I just wanted to have a little break from that and make sure that I did actually prioritize this one as well. So I did get my colouring stuff out, I put Chloe's sprints on the telly, and I put on the audiobook for this book, and I have now made it up to page 257, so I'm just over halfway. I've got this little chunk to go. I'm up to chapter 23, and according to the audiobook which I have here, I have 3 hours and 4 minutes left of the audiobook. Now I am going to take Huey for a walk in a minute, which will mean that I'll get another hour of listening time in, hopefully at least. So whilst I don't think I'm going to finish this one today, I am very excited to be making some decent progress in it, especially as I thought this would take me about a week to read. I don't think I mentioned, sorry guys, but it is now Monday. It's a bank holiday, so I have just been kind of having a chill morning. I have filmed 2 unboxing videos for my last 2 Lord of the Rings Conqueror medals, so that is something that I needed to do for a while. I have closed off my holiday vlog and now I'm finally sitting down to update you. So I haven't actually read anything this morning, which is why I would like to prioritize finishing off The Curse of Saints this afternoon. But Tom is actually ill right now. He has got a really bad cold. We have done a COVID test. It's not the dreaded coronavirus, but he has an awful cold. Like, I haven't seen him this bad in a while. So he's actually not coming to the gym with me tonight. I'm sure Sean said that he can't come as well because Louise, our coach, has actually moved the class forward an hour, so it's at 6 instead of 7, because with it being a bank holiday a lot of people are away and I guess he can move it forward, so that works great for me. And I'm just thinking now I can actually listen to this book on the drive there if I'm by myself in the car, so that'd be good. I can definitely get some more listening time in that way. It's about a 20-minute drive there, so again, another 40 minutes of listening time could be added to this book, which has me excited actually. I'm definitely intrigued to see how this all wraps up, especially as it's a duology, so there aren't any more books that I need to read after this one. I'm not too sure where it's going to go from here. We have had some massive revelations, you guys. The last chapter I read almost had me crying because something happens to a character that we saw in the first book and It just had me really sad. So I think I stopped there because I just couldn't deal with the fallout of that and seeing how our characters reacted to it. We've also had some really touching, heartfelt moments that I have really loved, and I am ultimately glad that I did decide to pick this one up. Unfortunately, I can't tell you too much about this book in particular. I feel like I'm enjoying it more than I did the first book for some reason, but that might just be me misremembering how I felt reading the first book. It's honestly been that long, I couldn't tell you, but I am having a good time with this one. The audiobook is definitely a fantastic way to go with it. Even though I feel like the writing in this would be lovely to actually physically read, listening to it just feels like you are listening to a fairy tale, and I have just had an amazing time with it. It's such an easy book to listen to, and I do find myself being able to follow along with the plot without really missing any major events or information. But we've gone to a different setting in this book, or at least in the part that I've just read. So in the first book we are in the Celestial Kingdom. That's where the Emperor of the Immortals lives, and Xingyin, our main character in this book, is the daughter of the moon goddess, and so she lives in a palace with her mother, and that's where they kind of control the moon cycle. Now of course a lot of things happen in the first book and in the start of this one, but we do find ourselves in an underwater kingdom, and I can't remember the name of it now off the top of my head, but I love that setting so much. I love seeing how different people live outside of the Celestial City, and it was just so interesting to see a different way of life there basically, and to touch upon another part of the mythology that didn't get as much focus on in the first book. So I have really liked the change in setting. One thing that I don't like in this book though, and it happened in the first book, again we have a kind of love triangle, and our main character makes a bargain with another character that ultimately affects her relationship with one of the people involved in this love triangle, and not for the better. However, the main character has promised not to say anything to this person, and so she's just being quite rude to them out of the blue and just quite mean, and it's honestly breaking my heart. So hopefully that gets resolved. I am rooting for that character over the other one, but knowing my luck with the characters that I ship, they're not going to end up together, so we'll see. That's my main gripe with it though, especially as their communication has been so good throughout this book, but hopefully it can all get resolved. As I mentioned, I'm 257 pages in, and this book ends on page 461, so I've got about 200 pages left to go. I am going to listen to as much as I can today, and then hopefully I can finish it off tomorrow, so I probably won't update you guys until then. Maybe I will, to let you guys know when I finish this one, but Heart of the Sun Warrior is once again taking a back seat so that I can focus now on the Curse of Saints, because I'm desperate to know what's going on, guys. So that is it for now. I feel like this has been a very long rambly update, but I will check back in once I have some more thoughts on these books, or possibly once I finish the Curse of Saints. Guys, what on earth is this book? I have just finished it and I am obsessed. That's Kiwi knocking the camera, so please excuse her, but what the hell? This book is just crazy. I actually can't talk too much about it now either, because it is 20 past 6, and as you can tell I am going to the gym, and I am actually giving Sean a lift tonight, which means that I do need to leave in about 5 minutes, so I actually can't talk too much about this one, and it's probably a good thing because I definitely need to gather my thoughts on it, calm down a bit, because it's all very new, very fresh. I have literally just finished it, so all the emotions are happening. The ending was crazy. We had plot twist after plot twist. Oh my gosh, I just can't believe it. I was genuinely feeling all the emotions. I was gasping. I was feeling everything physically, and yeah, 5 stars. 5 stars. I'm so happy. I never thought that this was going to be a 5-star read, and it is, and yeah, I'm genuinely so happy. I have just gone ahead and bought the standard edition of this as well, because if you guys watched my TBR, I think I mentioned that I didn't really love this cover, and if I loved this book then I wanted to buy the standard edition, which looks like this. I will pop it up on screen now. It has a stunning image of a wolf, and it's actually printed onto the book itself, so the hardcover actually looks like this one now without the dust jacket on, and you know I needed it. I'm just obsessed. I absolutely loved it. I got sucked in, and yeah, feeling all the feels. I am desperate to know what's going to happen next, because there is definitely another book coming. Wow, this is phenomenal. Is it a debut? It's a debut! Oh my gosh, I actually can't believe it. And it does also say that this is the first in a trilogy, so we've got 2 more books coming. I am buzzing. I don't react to books like this normally. I think the last time was Fourth Wing and that book was exceptional, but oh my gosh, you guys, this book had me in the feels. I'm obsessed. I need to calm down. I need to go to the gym and kind of get this weird feeling out of me, and I will come back and possibly update you tonight, maybe not. I definitely need to have a shower and actually wash my hair today. You can tell it's not looking great, so that is the case with that. And then I haven't actually listened to a lot more of this. I did yesterday, but I honestly couldn't tell you where I'm up to, so for now I'm not going to talk about this one, but this book, oh my gosh, so good. If you've been putting it off, if you are struggling to get into the first 100 pages or so, please persevere. Genuinely the best thing I've done this year, honestly, because I really wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and it has just surpassed all of my expectations, and I'm so happy about it. So I'm gonna end this clip here. I have been chatting for way too long already, and I'm gonna grab a quick coffee as my pre-workout and chat to you guys later, because I'm just a mess of emotions right now. Hi guys, I have just gotten in from a dog walk, so please excuse the state of me. I did wash my hair last night, as you can probably tell. It's dried a bit frizzy. We're just gonna go with it because I didn't want to put it up again, otherwise I feel like all the clips in this video kind of look the same. So if it does look a bit all over the place, please just ignore it. I also want to quickly apologise about the lighting. I don't know why, but the lighting in here really isn't that great at the minute, so apologies for that, as I mentioned. But I wanted to kind of film in a different part of my reading room because I feel like I've been sat in front of my shelves for all of that, and again, I thought you would like a bit of a change of scenery. So yesterday I finished this book, which is of course The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramis. I loved it, as you saw, gave it 5 stars. This was so good, you guys. Definitely still feel like it is very similar to Throne of Glass in terms of a lot of the themes and tropes that we have in here, but it's also its own fantasy story. This, I don't even know how to describe it. I really don't want to spoil it, so I'm gonna have to be careful with what I say and with what more I can actually say as well. I feel like I've rambled on about it quite a lot, but it was fantastic. I really loved the characters. There were so many different plot twists at the end that just had me on the edge of my seat. I was also feeling a lot of emotions reading this book as well, especially again towards the end. There was just a lot going on, guys, and we did actually get a steamy scene in here, which I very much appreciated. Actually, we had a kind of slow burn throughout the whole book, and then it all led up to this one moment, and I was there for it. So yeah, that was a really good scene. It was very well written, and it did feel very natural to the characters and where their relationship was at. So I was definitely happy with how that played out and happy for the both of them. There is just so much in here, guys. I wouldn't know where to start. I would definitely say that at times I felt like there was a lot going on. There are a lot of different plot points and elements that play in this book that I feel like it could be spread out into 2 books possibly. Not that I was necessarily confused, but sometimes I did have to go back and think, oh, why are we here now? What's going on here? Why have these characters gone to where they've gone? And just things like that. But it all kind of comes full circle by the end of the book, but not in a way that would make it a standalone. This is definitely a really good setup for the second book. It's a really good introduction into the world and the magic system. I didn't actually realise, but at the back of the book there is a glossary as well, which I feel like it should have been put at the front because that's where I would have noticed it. I haven't really looked at it properly because I didn't notice it until the end of the book, but yeah, it is there, I promise, and it has a lot of information about the magic system, the names of places and things like that, and it would have been really useful for me, but I didn't find out about it until after I'd finished the book, so typical. But something I do love in this as well is that we are actually given an extra chapter. So because this is a Fairyloot exclusive edition, we do have some extra content in here, which I'm so glad for. But yeah, it just says, read on for a bonus exclusive chapter for Fairyloot readers, and I do feel like the chapter that they chose was really important as well, and yeah, I just couldn't believe it reading it. It was just a crazy ride. So much is going on here, guys. So many different relationships. We have betrayals. There's just so much scheming, and even though it's not extremely political, there are some political aspects to it, and we're definitely going to see more of that moving forward. So all in all, this was fantastic. Definitely not going to be a book for everyone, and I can appreciate that. I think I just read this at the right time, and because I wasn't really expecting too much from it, it just completely blew me away. But if you do like morally grey characters, a somewhat complex magic system, slow burn, romantic tension, a love triangle, which actually wasn't too big of an issue for me in this one, I really did like it, rival kingdoms on the brink of war, which of course also gives you political intrigue, violence, blood, anger and betrayal, and also a badass female main character, this is the one for you. Absolutely loved it, definitely a new favourite, and I cannot wait for the next book to arrive. I have actually bought myself the standard edition, I think I mentioned yesterday, and that has been dispatched from Waterstones already, so I'm definitely excited for that to arrive. But yeah, new favourite book of mine, so glad that I decided to pick it up for this vlog, and I'm really happy that I had a stunning Fairyloot edition with a bonus chapter to read. Now guys, I have gone a little bit rogue, and now I'm kind of overwhelmed, I'm not gonna lie, but quickly, and I mean quickly, I'm going to touch upon this. I kind of mentioned it yesterday, but I'm at a point now where I've had to stop listening to the audiobook for this because I was just getting really angry. I don't really want to spoil anything, but as I mentioned, there is a love triangle in here, and whilst I loved it in The Kiss of Saints, I'm really not enjoying it in this one. It's more of the fact that our main character seems to be in love with one of them, and because of the events of the first book, the other one has kind of become her worst enemy. And I don't know how many times she says it throughout the book, but she's like, I can never forgive him, I don't really like him, but I'm kind of gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. He's trying to help me at the minute, and so we'll figure something out. This kind of partnership works well for both of us, let's just kind of get the job done. This is our main character Xinyan's mindset throughout the whole book so far, and now we've had a scene where stuff's happening, and it's a case of like the main character saying one thing to us and then doing another, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know. It's making me angry, and I had to put it down. So I haven't listened to a lot more of this. I don't even know where I'm up to be honest with you. But apparently I have 2 hours and 12 minutes left of the audiobook. So that might be one that I try and finish tonight, but I'm not sure. It's kind of made me angry, so I've kind of put it down for now. But as I mentioned, I've gone a bit rogue. I have decided to start another book, which you probably will know what that is by the thumbnail, but it is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This wasn't on my priority TBR at all, but I was on Instagram the other day and I saw that the read-along schedule for this had been posted, and that I believe they were on day 2 of the readathon, and I decided, do you know what? This is the perfect time for me to pick up this book because I can join in on the read along and chat about it with everyone else and then watch Chloe Gong's interview. So that's what I've decided to do. I did actually section this. I don't know how well you can see, but I have 1 or 2 tabs in here because I did think of a kind of page count to read it in, but I managed to read 109 pages of this last night, which I wasn't planning on doing at all. That got me to chapter 8, and then today's page count I think was meant to take me to chapter 16, which I have now hit. So I've made it up to page 215, and honestly I just want to sit down now and finish this one. This is such an interesting book, you guys. I didn't really know what it was about diving in. I know that it's a retelling of one of Shakespeare's works. I can't remember what it is. Let me just grab the dust jacket that I have here. So this is the cover for those of you who don't know. Again, this is a Fairyloot exclusive edition, which is why it's so pretty. It has stunning stenciled edges and it does have an exclusive cover, so I believe that the standard edition is green. But this is inspired by Shakespeare's Antony and Cleopatra, which I can't say I'm familiar with, but I don't feel like you necessarily need to know about it. I am loving this story. I wouldn't have been able to tell that this was inspired by one of Shakespeare's works, to be honest with you guys. That might just be me being ignorant, I don't know, but this is fantastic. As I mentioned, I had no idea what to expect diving in, but it's essentially a kind of mix between Squid Game and the Hunger Games, because we have a kingdom in here and the king is living lavishly while everyone else, essentially all the other citizens, are living in poverty, and it's only getting worse and worse. Now every year the king hosts a game and the winner of this game earns a very large cash prize. Now the only downside of this is that it's a game to the death. So hundreds if not thousands of people participate in these games each year. However, there can only be one victor, and you can imagine the bloodshed that comes alongside that. Now the Squid Game element of it is that people actually volunteer to partake in the games, and they mainly do this because of their financial situation. They have fallen on really hard times and they feel like this is their last hope. And then the Hunger Games element to it is more of the reaping. So the king actually chooses names out of the number of contestants, and then he ends up with 88, I believe it is. These are just completely random, and then there is a point where the game starts and it's every man for himself. Now you can opt out of playing the games. You have a wristband that identifies you as a game player, and this has a kind of microchip in it which lets everyone know your location, and every day there is a ping. So players are kind of told when other players are near them, and then obviously this causes a bit of chaos because we see a lot of fights. But yeah, it's really interesting, and you can take the chip out if you want to kind of disqualify yourself, but a lot of people are in this for the long run and it is very, very brutal. Now our main character in this is Kala, and she is actually a princess. However, she's been in hiding for the last 5 years because she tried to kill her entire family in order to make the world a better place. She doesn't agree with the king's rule at all. She wants to kill the king and everyone involved with him and restore this kingdom to prosperity. The only way she feels like she can do this is by entering the games, because the victor of the games does get presented to the king at the end, and she believes that this will be the perfect opportunity to assassinate him. But of course it's not as simple as that. We have some other characters in here that also have their own personal vendetta against the king, and so we do see a lot of tension and conflict between all of our characters, as well as some characters doing some dirty work in the background as well. So yeah, there is a lot going on in this book, but in the best way possible. And to be honest with you guys, I did put it down. I have been reading it. I read for about 2 hours this morning, which is how I've now gotten to page 215. However, I thought after my walk I would try and sit down and start Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, but not gonna lie to you guys, I am 18 pages in and I've kind of put it down already because I just want to continue on with Immortal Longings. It is so good. I'm definitely getting the 5-star feelings from this one as well, which I can't believe I'm saying because I really haven't had a lot of 5-star reads this year, and so I definitely want to prioritize this now. I don't know where it's gonna go, how it's gonna end. I'm not sure if it's a standalone. It doesn't really say, but this is Chloe Gong's adult debut novel and it is fantastic. This is definitely the type of book that I'm into. It's kind of an urban fantasy, but not really. So I feel like it is more accessible if you're not necessarily a fantasy reader, or at least high fantasy. So I feel like you definitely could get along with this, but it is definitely one that is filled with violence and bloodshed and all that jazz. So if you're not into that, maybe this isn't the book for you, but I'm absolutely loving it. I'm having such an amazing time and I just want to carry on reading. So as I mentioned, a spanner in the works here, but I'm so glad that I have decided to pick this one up. The only problem is that it's now 20 to 4 on Wednesday the 30th of August, and I only have the rest of today and tomorrow left before I go back to work, meaning that I need to read another 200 pages of this one to finish it, and I need to read all of this book, which is about 315 pages. Now I do feel like the Encyclopedia of Fairies is going to be a faster read, mainly because the text is quite big. Don't know how well you'll be able to see that. And because it's a diary, it does kind of read quite quickly. It's not really, I don't want to say as dense as Immortal Longings. You definitely have to pay attention in Immortal Longings. There's a lot of stuff going on. This one is more of a kind of nice book where nothing much happens, but you do get told a few bits here and there about magic and the fairies that she's going to be studying, and I'm guessing that we're going to have a romance occur as well. So 2 very different books. I am loving Immortal Longings more at the minute just because that is more my type of book. Emily Wells' Encyclopedia of Fairies isn't really something I would pick up for myself, so it makes sense that I am prioritising this one, but I'm so glad that I picked this up, as I mentioned, and yeah, I'm gonna sit down now and try and read a bit more. Not gonna lie though guys, I am feeling like I'm coming down with a cold, which is not great, but I feel like I told you the other day that Tom was ill. He had a really bad cold, and as expected, I'm starting to feel a little bit ill now. My throat's hurting and I can feel myself getting more and more nasally, which I really don't want. I have plans to film videos tomorrow and I really need to read these books, which, yeah, is not going to be great if I'm feeling all bunged up. So hopefully I can combat that before it gets any worse. I'm going to have some lamp sip in a minute. I have some blankets here that I'm going to snuggle up with, and yeah, I'm going to try not to do anything to make the cold worse, but I'm going to sit down now, read some more of this. I don't think I'll finish it in one sitting, but we shall see. And then I will update you next when I have finished this, because otherwise I feel like this video is going to be way too long. Heart of the Sun Warrior is one that I'm not really prioritising. I will put it on if I feel the need to and if I have time to, and then the Encyclopedia of Fairies, I'm gonna wait I think until I've finished Immortal Longings to dive into this one, because I just can't deal with the contrast between the 2 stories for some reason at the minute, and as I mentioned, my focus is on this book. So yeah, that is the plan, but I will make sure to include some B-roll now for you guys, because I feel like the talking section of this vlog has been extremely long and you will definitely need a break. So I hope you enjoy the B-roll and I will update you guys once I've finished Immortal Longings. Right guys, it's been a few days since I last updated. It is currently Saturday the 2nd of September. I think the last time I updated you guys was on Wednesday the 30th. If I'm remembering correctly, sorry if I'm not. But at that point, I was talking about Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. Now, I am very, very happy to say that I have finished this book and I did end up giving it 5 stars. This was such an amazing book. I really wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, which sounds a bit silly, but I just hadn't really heard too much about it. I was definitely intrigued by the Fairyloot edition, of course, how could I not be? But in terms of the plot and the characters, I just wasn't sure what to expect, because this book is loosely based off of Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare, which, as I mentioned, is something that I am not familiar with. However, I had no problem with this book. I feel like you don't really need to know the source material before diving in, because this is its own story, but from the reviews that I've seen, it is a really good representation of that original story as well. So yeah, this was such a wild ride. The plot was so interesting, as I mentioned, and I don't think I said, but the games, so the kind of deadly assassination type games, don't happen in a set space. These people are just set loose on the streets and then they are kind of hunted down by other competitors. So you could be minding your own business, selling some things from your shop, and then someone could barge in, kill the person next to you and run off, and then yeah, it's just part of the game. So that was really weird. Another element that was a bit strange but very interesting was the jumping. Now I can't remember if there's a specific name for it, but essentially in this world your body is technically not your own. What is your own is your kai. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's essentially your aura. And if you do have this specific skill of jumping, you can actually jump into other people's bodies and take over those bodies. Some people can't do this at all. Some people can and do it regularly. It is monitored. It is meant to be forbidden. However, in the games they are allowed to do that. But our main character, Kala, actually refuses to jump. So that was definitely interesting. It was interesting to see how she fared compared to other competitors who were able to jump and use different bodies to their advantage. Of course, if you are attacked in any way and you are very badly injured, you can jump into another person if you can see them. So a lot of players in this game kind of do that and escape death that way, which again was very, very interesting. The writing, as per usual, was fantastic. The characters in this, you guys. I wasn't too fussed on August. I'm still not quite sure how to feel about him, but Kala and Anton were just everything. Anton is just brilliant. He's so funny, but he's also very mysterious because he is a person that does do a lot of body jumping, and so we don't actually get to know him fully. We don't really know who he is. He's always hiding behind a different face, and so there is a weird sort of disconnect there, but nothing that's like affecting my enjoyment of the story. If anything, it just adds to the mystery surrounding him. Kala is badass. I absolutely love her. She has her own personal vendetta, which is why she decides to join the games, and you see that this has her complete focus. She is determined to do this no matter the cost, no matter if maybe it's not the smartest decision anymore. She is just focused on that one thing, and so we do see the lengths she will go to win the games and assassinate the king, essentially. Not to say that that's what happens, of course, no spoilers here, but it was fantastic. The ending of this, you guys, just blew me away. I am a little bit confused because there are a few plot points where I'm just like, but how? You know, because we've been told something different earlier on in the book, so we'll see how that comes into play. But yeah, this is going to be a trilogy. I will definitely be buying and reading the next 2 books, and I'm so happy to have had another 5-star read in this vlog because I haven't had that many 5 stars throughout this year, guys. So to have 2 in the span of what, a week is just amazing. So yes, would highly recommend, absolutely love it, and I can't wait to carry on with the next 2 books. And next, you guys, I actually feel really bad because I have now read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett in one sitting, or more or less one sitting actually. I tried to read it on the night that I last updated you, so I finished Immortal Longings, and then I just had a kind of really nice relaxing night, and then I went to bed and I started reading this book. However, I only got about 38 pages in, I want to say, and I just could not get into it. I don't know what it was, I just really wasn't bothered by it. Nothing was making me want to keep reading, and so Tom came to bed, put on the Kingsman film. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the prequel, so it's the newest release, but it's the prequel to the Kingsman films that are out already. I'd not seen it until that night, and I just watched that. Then we were into the last day of August, and I needed to read this. I, of course, had like 300 pages left to go, which was not great, but I decided to scrap my filming plans. I wasn't feeling too good anyway. I thought, you know what, this is the last day off I'm gonna have for, I think, 8 weeks now. So I want to take this time for me. I don't want to do anything. I want to chill with Tom and Kiwi, and I decided to sit down and power through this book. I actually finished this one just before I went to the gym, so I think it was about 6:20 at night, but we got there. I was so glad to not see the back of it, but I was glad to have finished it before going into September because I didn't want to drag any books over. I want a fresh, clean slate, and that is exactly what I've gotten. So with this one, I can't actually remember if I told you what it's about, but it's essentially about a character named Emily Wilde who is compiling an encyclopedia all about fairies. It's set in a Scandinavian country, which I really love. The setting of this book is definitely what had me intrigued and what kept my interest. So that was definitely one of the main things that I liked in this book. The fairies themselves as well were really interesting. I absolutely love Shadow and Poe in this book. Shadow is the dog and Poe is a fairy, and they are just fantastic. I honestly feel like they're my favourite characters in this whole book. The main characters, I don't know, I felt like they were quite bland. Emily more so than Bumblebee. Bumblebee was definitely the more interesting of the two. I really didn't like him to start off with. I thought he was so arrogant and full of himself and very presumptuous. But as the story goes on, yes, he's still kind of the same, but we do learn more about him and we do see why he is the way that he is, and that was really interesting. I feel like we didn't really get to see too much of Emily, which was a bit of a shame. I definitely feel like she was overshadowed by Bumblebee, and yeah, unfortunately I just wanted them to be a little bit more fleshed out, and I feel like that's what my main problem was with this book, is that I just wanted more. I get that it's a cozy fantasy, I get that they're not the most intricate plot driven things, but I don't know, I just really would have loved seeing more, and I just felt like that is what this book was missing, unfortunately. I have also written in my notes, which is why I'm looking down, but this was very over explained in some parts. So one day Bumblebee does actually write a diary entry instead of Emily. For those of you who don't know, this is essentially told in diary entries, so Emily normally tells us what they've been up to, however in this instance it is Bumblebee. Now an event occurs, which I'm obviously not going to go into because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but anyway, something big happens and Emily is obviously unable to write this diary entry, so he takes it upon himself to do that, and he kind of mentions how he has no idea how Emily remembered something very specific that ultimately helped them get out of a sticky situation. And then he goes on to tell us about the story that inspired what she remembered, and I'm just like, if you're writing to Emily, surely she is already familiar with the story. She would not need to reread it and have you explain to her what the story was. It is very apparent that she remembered it, because in that desperate time she is the one that came up with the solution and her inspiration was from the story itself. So it's just stuff like that where I was just like, I get it's for the reader's benefit, but it just felt really silly and I just had a bit of a disconnect with it. So yeah, that's it for this one. It was a very quaint little book. I get why people love it. I'm just not sure if cozy fantasy is for me, because I just need the plot. I need more of a plot, I need more intricacies, I need more character depth, and this one was very surface level, which again is fine. It does exactly what it says on the tin, but me as a reader and a predominantly fantasy reader just wanted more from this book. So it's not my favourite. I did give it 3 stars, but I'm not sure whether I would actually continue on with this series. I don't know how long it's going to be. There is definitely going to be a second book though, and I'm not sure. I possibly would read it just to see what it's like, but as I mentioned, the setting was the main thing that had me intrigued in this one. The book was very atmospheric. I really did like the villagers that were a part of this as well, but as a novel, as a story, I just wasn't really that connected to it, and I'm actually pretty sad. But I did have an inkling that that was going to be the case. I'm glad I read it, otherwise I don't know when I would have, and as I mentioned, I can see why people do love it. And then, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for this long update, but I did finish The Heart of the Sun Warrior as well. This is one that I actually almost didn't finish, because after finishing Kingsman I rolled over to go to sleep and I just had this realization that like, oh my gosh, you haven't finished this book. So I whacked on the audiobook, I put it near my pillow, I just kind of lay there and listened to it, and I'm not too sure, guys. I feel like I don't want to be a negative Nancy at the end of this vlog, but there was just something that really didn't work for me in this book, unfortunately. I don't know if it's the fact that it's very contradictory and characters say one thing and then do another, and then it's just a very weird 180, and I don't know, I just could not believe in what was going on, and I feel like that was my main issue. So I do feel like this is more of a 2.5 stars. It's not awful enough to be a 2, but then it's not good enough to be a 3 for me, unfortunately. I feel like I did enjoy Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies more, and so I feel like giving this a 3 stars, it just doesn't match up. So unfortunately, this is a 2.5 star book for me. I'm so sad, because this is just one of the prettiest books ever. I'm not getting rid of this book. It's way too stunning for me to do that, but I am glad that I did give it some time. I'm glad that I have now finished out the duology. I'm not amazingly happy with how it ended, but yeah, I'm sure some people will be. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. I loved the writing, but yeah, the characters just, they were actually pretty annoying in this book. And as I mentioned, I actually had to turn the audiobook off at one point because they were really annoying me and they were just making extremely stupid decisions and I just wasn't believing in them. So yes, unfortunately, this is a 2.5 stars. Loved the story, loved the plot. I feel like we should have gotten more plot and less characters again for some reason. I've always said that I'm a very character driven person, but apparently not. Apparently I'm a plot driven person. But yeah, I just loved being in different settings, and I feel like we didn't get to really see enough of the different settings. It always came back to the characters and the love triangle and their drama, and I was just not here for it. So again, whilst I can appreciate this, whilst I get why people do enjoy it, it just wasn't for me, unfortunately. But the representation in here is fantastic. I loved learning more about Chinese mythology, and even though I didn't have the best time with this one, I'm glad that I finished off this duology, and I will be keeping it on my shelves because it's a stunning edition from Fairyloot. So to wrap up my reading for the week, or just under a week actually, it was 6 days, I read The Curse of Saints by Kate Dramis, which I gave 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. It's my new favourite book. Then I read Immortal Longings by Chloe Gone. Again, loved it. It was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, we then took a bit of a dip, and I gave Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies 3 stars. And we finished the vlog off on a really sad note where I gave The Heart of the Sun Warrior 2.5 stars. All in all though, I have loved filming this vlog. It has introduced me to some new favourite books. It's also shown me that maybe I'm not a cozy fantasy gal, and I have also finished off a duology that has been on my shelves for a while. So all in all, I would call this a success. I'm a reader. I'm not going to love every book, unfortunately, but this was a really good week for me. I'm so glad to have actually prioritised these and read them. And definitely let me know if you would like to see another vlog like this in the future, because I definitely would love to film it, and maybe you could leave some book recommendations for me to read down below as well. If you have made it this far through into the video and would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and leave me a bird emoji in the comments. Even though this was my lowest rated book of the week, this book does involve firebirds. That is what is on the sprayed edges here, and I just think it is so beautiful. So if you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, but you would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and comment a bird emoji down below. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video, and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you once again for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!